Good morning and welcome, everyone. This is Michael Gibbs, and I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Careers. And I'm here once again to help you build your best cloud computing career. I come online 3 times a week completely free so that I can guide you towards achieving the best career success. See, I've been working in tech now for over 25 years, and I've been helping others get their first tech job or get promoted in tech for more than 2 decades. And I want to help you get that first cloud architect job, or first solution architect job, or first cloud engineer job because it's what I love to do. I love getting people cloud hired. And that's why I'm here. So if you're looking to get your first cloud architect job, first solution architect job, first enterprise architect job, first cloud engineer job, ask me your questions so I can guide you on the most efficient path. See, I've been in this field for decades, and what I've noticed is so many people zigzag throughout their career. When if they went to a straight line, they could get what they want so much faster than everyone else. And that's why I'm completely here to help you build your best cloud computing career. Now, let me tell you about some free things we're going to be doing today, and 3 things we have coming up so you can sign up completely for free to help boost your career. But while we do this, please make sure you send us your questions and post your questions in the chat box. Why? I want to make sure that we answer your questions, and that's why I'm here. So ask your questions so I can help you get to your goals. Let me tell you, on Thursday, which is tomorrow, guess what? We have our How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar live and completely free on Zoom. People come from all around the world when we run these every single week, and we will tell you how to leverage your current experience and show the hiring manager you have experience, even if it's in a different industry. After that, we'll tell you what hiring manager's dream hire is so you know how to become what they want so you can get cloud hired. We'll go over how to bypass HR, which will auto-reject your resume when you don't have experience. We'll tell you the things that need to be on your resume and the things that you need to know to get hired. And I'm going to tell you right now, 95% of them are not covered in certification. And that's when people say, Mike, I'm certified. I've been looking for jobs for a year. Why won't anybody hire me? We can tell you exactly what you need to learn because we get people hired almost every day. Even in the recession so far, we've been getting people hired almost every day. So let's talk about some other free things. We're having a completely free AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate Bootcamp. Sign up for that. It's coming in the next couple weeks. The link is in the chat box as well as the description below. And if that wasn't enough free things coming for you, guess what else we have? A free AWS Advanced Networking plus what you need to know bootcamp. See, lots of people want to get the AWS Advanced Networking certification, but it's honestly an intro to an intro to an intro to junior level networking, and by itself, it won't impress anybody. But if we add that plus what you need to know, add some switching concepts in there, some wide area networking technologies, get into BGP a little bit, then it'll be what you need to know. So we'll make that the AWS Advanced Networking Plus, what you need to know, completely free, early November. Please sign up, and the link is in the description below as well as the chat box. And that's not going to be taught by somebody that's certified in AWS that doesn't know anything about anything. It's going to be taught by me, one of the original Cisco certified internet experts who spent nearly a decade at Cisco as a lead architect. And I've trained engineers at Cisco. I've trained them at Riverstone Networks. I was a principal architect at Comcast. I worked on Wall Street designing networks for banks, so I'm going to make it silly easy for you. Why? Because when you know it this well, and you know it in depth, and you spent your life in something, you can explain things simply. So let me tell you, next week I'm going to do a completely free Cloud Architect interview session where you can learn how to interview and win the interview as a Cloud Architect. I'll interview you. I'll tell you if you're right, wrong, the things you need to brush up on, and it'll be honest. It won't be somebody goes on an interview, they don't do a good job, and they get told, come back to your experience. I will tell you what you need to do. If it's an executive presence thing, if it's a communication thing, no matter if it's a knowledge thing, if it's a networking thing, data center thing, I will make it clear on the free interview coaching. And please follow us on LinkedIn because I've got some great guests coming for you. I have a VP over at NVIDIA who's a close friend of mine that's going to talk about things that hiring managers want and leadership. One of the students I trained last year, he's an amazing young man. He was a waiter while he was going to college. He's now a solution architect with AWS. Yes, they hired him with no experience directly out of our program, as many people do. And now he's going to come back after 6 months of being an architect, and you can hear what it's like a day in the life of the architect. And I can tell you this all day long because I've been an architect for 2.5 decades, and I've trained so many architects, and we talk all the time. But we'll bring in Yvonne, so you get to hear from a really great guy. We'll be posting this, post many articles. Today, we even posted another article that I wrote for American Security Today magazine on LinkedIn, so please follow us on LinkedIn so you can get so many great things to help build your best career. So tell me where you're from in the chat box. I'm in Port St. Lucie, Florida. Tell me your goal career with a hashtag cloud architect, hashtag cloud engineer, hashtag solution architect. And that, because we like to know who you're there. And if you're brand new, you're not a member of our channel, subscribe and hit the bell so that way you get informed of all the new free training and things we have coming for you. Eddie Patrick, welcome everyone. Get cloud hired. Christopher Johnson, yes, I hope you have your questions ready, because how else can I answer them and how else can I guide you? Awfully quiet this morning. Yes, I'm feeling that way. Louis E. Hello, everyone. Nice to have you here, Louis. Collins, oh, it's good to see you, Mr. Bond. Jim Henry, good morning. Yes, good morning to you, Jim. Jimmy Henry, cool name. Elvis, good morning to you from your end. Elvis, it's so good to see you today. Low color lifestyle. What would you recommend an almost 16-year-old homescaler who's interested in becoming a cloud architect? What should they learn? Should a young person sign up for your program, and at what age? That's a good question. Now, let me answer that. So low color lifestyle, I've worked with people while they're in school. I'm actually working with my friend, a 12-year right now, because it's my friend's child. I will also tell you that I've had a lot of success by giving the right training to people early on. So there was a gentleman named Mitchell. He's one of my most successful clients. He lived near me in Florida. And what I had done with him is when he was 14 years old, he came to me and said, I wanted to learn networking. Actually, I think he was 15 at the time. And I started teaching him networking things, and he did really well with them. As he went through high school, I got some more networking things. When he went through college, we tutored him along the way. By the time he got out of college, it was during a recession, and I can tell you this, nobody from his computer technology class had been hired, and then he was hired with a six-figure job pretty much before anyone in his class even got a job. And that's going back about 8, 9, 10 years ago. So I will tell you that studying when you're now is a really great thing. Now, homeschooling is great because it gives you the chance to truly learn what you want to learn. And if you're motivated enough to do this, I would tell you that our Cloud Architect program would teach you a lot. I would tell you that it would give you some of the business skills that you would get in an MBA program. I would tell you that it would give you the leadership skills that you would get in an MBA program. I would tell you that you would learn how to better sell, better communicate, understand what executives do, and understand business and business transformation. It would also give you a good knowledge of technology. All that I can say. And it would build the foundation for your future. Now, I can't say that at 18 years old, you're going to get a solution architect job, because I don't think that would be completely fair to say. Then again, I have Daniel Bosu, who was 20, and he got hired when he just turned 21 by JP Morgan Chase, and he was one of my students, and I worked with him when he was 20. I can also tell you I had another 20-year-old the other day, and that's a couple of years older than you, and basically he was 20 or 22, I can't remember. His name is Vlad, and he basically got such a good job at the company as a cloud architect, within a couple of months of my program, but he was another incredibly motivated person, working really, really hard. So I'd love to help you. I'd love to train you. Normally, I can say my students are getting cloud hired out of the program. I don't know that I could say that for you. I could get you the skills that, could get you hired. I could train you to be the best in your field, and I can train you to be an exceptional cloud architect. But because of your age and only your age, you might have to get a more basic cloud computing job first, which would be fine. It would be no big deal for you, and then actually work as a cloud architect later. See, the cloud architects were basically business transformation specialists, and we're focusing on how to teach our customers how to leverage technology to improve their business performance. At 16, unless you're really good, it's going to be hard to convince people that you can go into a business and convince them that they need a $100 million technology solution. But we could give you all the training and all the knowledge and all the capabilities to set you up for an incredibly good career. And you would be head and shoulders amongst people that had a computer engineering degree out of school. And heck, if you combined it, which is what I would do, you would take our training and learn real things, maybe go to school and learn business, marry those two together, and then you've got a really good career, because you'll have all the best skills in the world. You'll stand out head and shoulders across everyone else in school. And then at that point, you'd be like 22 years old. You'll have all the best cloud computing skills. You'll have a really great degree. And I think you could be in doing incredible. So for your son, for you, that would be my guidance. I've worked with young people. They've done incredible things. Another thing that I love working with young people is when they're focused on business acumen and leadership and sales skills and giving presentations. Here's the thing. They're not getting into trouble. They're not playing on their phone all day. They're not focused on Facebook and all those other things where people can make these young people feel bad about anything. They're focused on growing their career. So I'd love to work with your son. I work with lots of young people. I just don't want to promise that I can get a 17-year-old a job as a cloud architect. I can train them, and maybe when they're 20, 21, 22, they can get a cloud architect job, which, by the way, will be faster than anybody else could do it in the world, at a lower cost than anybody else can do it in the world. I just make sure that I'm completely honest and fair. It'd be a great training program. I don't think they have to be 18 or 16 or 20 to sign up. I don't think there's ever a time where it's too early to learn. Ever. I know in high school, I didn't do what other students did. I basically was focusing on these. So let me tell you about Daniel. And I love Daniel. He's the son I wish I always had. Daniel came to me. He was a high school dropout, and I didn't even know this. And Daniel had bought this $35,000 program that was supposed to help him level up in tech. I don't even know what that exactly means, but he spent $35,000 on it. And in the end, he had a certification and zero knowledge. How do I know? He told me which certification he had, and I interviewed him. And then Daniel actually joined our course, and I'm so proud of Daniel. He's truly amazing. He came to the course, and he was like, people don't talk right to me. They don't take me seriously. We talked about his posture, his communication, his executive presence. Then we worked on his leadership skills, his writing skills, his scale skills, his emotional intelligence. I made him write a blog for me that we were going to post. He sent it to me. I said, no, not good enough. By the time he did the 6th revision, I said, you're going to be hired soon. Because he knew how to do that executive writing, that executive communication, those leadership things, and all those critical things that mattered. He went on an interview with JP Chase. They hired him. And I know they love him, because who wouldn't? Because of his energy, enthusiasm, passion. He came to us mostly a normal young person. He was selling shoes at Nordstrom at the time. He left us as an executive. Right, like 2 days after his 21st birthday, he was there working at one of the world's largest banks. Now, recently on my birthday, and there's a video of him, my team, could you put a video of Daniel? Because Daniel Bosa was just so special to me. He's one of the many kids that I wish was my own, which is because I just so proud of him. And just watching him grow and blossom. On my birthday, he had moved to Chicago. He had his brand new house. And he had these 2 kittens. And he's like, Mike, see, I'm taking care of kittens. I just learned it from you. He's soft, caring, wonderful, gentle soul who can go out there and solve business problems as if he had an MBA and he didn't even finish high school. So that's my perspective. I just wanted to be open, honest, and fair. That I don't know that I can get an 18-year-old a job as a cloud architect, but I can give them such an education and such training that will make them stand out that they'll always do well. And they can sign up, 16 could sign up for our live classes. And if they're 16 years old and they need to spend a little more time in our program, that's okay, because I just want to make sure that they do really well. And we'd love to have your 16-year-old in the live classes. They'll start learning. They'll start working with people. I've got people of all walks of life from all parts of the world, which is really a rich knowledge sharing way, which creates creative problem solving. Not too young for anybody to sign up for the class. You don't expect to have a job within 8 months, like I normally talk about, but expect him to get an incredible education that will most likely change his life forever, far for the better. Love when people are thinking about how to start early. So they're not like me, where you go practice internal medicine and then you decide to change the tech. That's great. We would love to train your family. And we'd also like to hear, oh my God, look at all the things that changed in his life: relationship development, capabilities, leadership skills, all kinds of great things. Lady Godiva, it's so good to see you this morning. I know who you are. You have the most beautiful picture of a cat I see sometimes. So Lady Godiva, always wonderful to have you. low carb lifestyle of realistic expectations for sure. That's wonderful. I'd be honored to help you. Hey, Mike, I saw a list of everything on the program. There's so much content. How would someone know which part to start with? Well, Quick Strike 21, we tried to make this easy. Person starts with lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, lesson 4, lesson 5 until they're completed. It's not where to start, it's to follow the instructions. So at the beginning of the course, there's instructions. We want people to focus for a reason. I will tell you, most of my students are incredibly successful. I can tell you which ones are not. Those that don't follow the program and think they know what they need to know. And here's why that's failing, a failing approach. Unless you've been an architect like me for a couple of decades, you don't know the architect job. So then people just think they can skip all those things that we do to train someone and go straight to other places. They miss the critical components. So Quick Strike 21, I see a lot of people want to go straight to the hands-on tech. Here's the thing as architects, we don't ever touch the tech. Wait, what? We don't touch the tech. We design it, we present it, and sell it. So if you look at the logical flow for our program, the first thing is the Tell Me About Yourself video. Why do we do this? To learn who you are, but to determine how you communicate. Do you communicate smoothly? Do you have executive presence? Are you communicating succinct? What's your level? And we give you feedback on that. Oh, by the way, that's the first question on most interviews. So we're preparing from the interview from the first day. And then at the beginning of the program, there's career planning. Career planning. And guess what with the career planning? You need to do the career planning because what kind of engineer or architect you need to know. And your background is going to be different from somebody else's, and we need to guide you on making sure you have the right thing. And then after that, they're the fundamental baselines. And then there's lesson after lesson after lesson. So whether you're in the engineer program or the architect program, please follow the program in order. Watch the videos in order and follow through like that. So that would be my recommendation. Now, even for the engineering program, seriously, the planning and all those critical things are up front. And then there's the classes. And then I would go back and watch all the old classes too. Why? Because you have access to all the old classes. And by doing that, you'll be a whole lot better. And then there's the Python module when you get to that point. But start with the program. Follow it in order. When you sign up for the course, you received a welcome email, which had a lot of instructions. When you join the class, initially there's instructions for the course in these welcome videos. Please watch them. But follow the course in order. Please don't move on to other things until you've completed things. If I was going to teach you Greek, which I'd be happy to, the first thing I would have to teach you is something called the alphabeta, which is the alphabet. Before I'd say, Quick Strike, posi sasamira, isadaxi. Now, if I didn't teach you the alphabet, and I didn't teach you what things meant, and I just spoke to you in Greek, I wouldn't expect you to understand me. So it's the same thing. We have building blocks. Please follow those building blocks. Let's build the pillars of the tower. And yes, there is a lot of it. And because I want to make sure you have the fundamentals. What is an expert really? It's not somebody that frittered their career learning 10,000 people's different jobs and doesn't know anything. It's someone that spent a lot of time learning and mastering their career with at least 10,000 hours of experience. So experts are experts at the fundamentals, nothing fancy. Kind of like when Bruce Lee said, I fear the man that practiced one kick 10,000 times, but I don't fear the man that practiced 10,000 kicks just once. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Quick Strike 21, so please follow it in order. And I know you'll do very well. Big Jerry, can you talk more about the job description? I know you've heard something about them not being relevant to the job. Okay, so I've never seen a job description that was actually accurate in my entire life. And here's the reason why. No hiring manager knows how to write a job description. That's not what we do. So what if all of us do? We all go to some copy place, go to a place like Indeed, for example, or ZipRecruiter, or Dice, or whatever our favorite job site is. And we type cloud architect, and we see something pop up in there. And usually when we see this thing pop up, it's got a whole bunch of nonsense that's not related to the job that we want. But we don't feel like rewriting a job description because we're working. Why are we writing a job description? Because somebody quit. And since somebody quit, we were busy before that. Now we're overloaded. So here's what we do. We take some silly 6-page job description. We take none of my stuff is in there. We write 3 sentences in there, cut and paste it, send it off, send it to HR, and HR is all proud of us. It looks good. And in the end, we get a bunch of silly, irrelevant job descriptions. I'm also going to tell you this. I've never been on an interview where I didn't get hired, and I've never had more than 10% of the things on the job description. Ever. And I'm going to tell you, Big Jerry 23, in the last 20 years of getting people hired, almost nobody ever met the requirements of the job description. So why or what are we doing that's so special? Well, here's the thing. There's the real job description, which you can only find out after speaking to the hiring manager, and there's this nonsense that you see in a piece of paper. The real job description is really the hiring manager's goals and the company's goals. And if you want to get the real job description on an interview, when the interviewer says, do you have any questions? Don't ask any of those nonsense questions which make people think that people told you to sound like you're excited. Say to the hiring manager, yes, do you have any questions? Yes, I do. I'd like to know what are your goals and the company's goals so that I can make sure if I was part of your team, I can make you and the company successful. Now then the hiring managers are going to do 2 things. They're going to say on that interview, wow, this person cares about me. This is someone I need to hire. But also 2, that's your real chance to get the job description. So I've been working with tech companies and recruiters for decades, and here's what I do. Usually I work with Christina Marino from IT Excel or Steve Aracrillian for IT Excel. I think they placed me in, I've only interviewed for 5 companies, and I think they sent me on interviews for 3 companies, and they all offered me jobs. So they're experts at knowing. And when they'd see a job description, Christina would say, right, here's the thing. But when I spoke to the hiring manager, because I knew that wasn't the real job, she wants you to know these 3 things extremely well. So there's that. So find out from a real recruiter what the real things are that are out there. Now, 2, Google it. Don't look at that wasteful job description, which is going to be completely irrelevant. Go look on Google and see what's going on to the company, learn what they do, then go to LinkedIn and see who other people work there. See what they have on their LinkedIn profile. That'll probably give you more of a job description. Or better yet, if you're with somebody like us, well, we know everybody everywhere, we can find out what their real job description is. Because you can use our network and reach out to people and things like that, because my network is connected to thousands of executives who are then connected to thousands of other people. So there's that. So other people like to say recruiters connected me and spam with nothing. I like to know who the right people are. And believe me, I've got hundreds of recruiters that are attached to me, but I focus on the business people. I ask them what they need. So Big Jerry 23, what I've done for the last 25 years is basically asked every hiring manager, what do you want in this kind of employee? And I know their list, because that's what I do. I don't look at job descriptions. I don't care what's in job descriptions. Like I said, I've never had more than 10% of what's on a job description. Now, we have to also understand the second reason job descriptions are a little wacky. Now, if I was interviewing you, it would be very, very, very simple. Why? I'd ask you a question. If you could answer it, I'd know if you were competent. If you couldn't answer, I'd know if you weren't. But who does the first interview? If you're applying for jobs, which we don't do, our students generally get hired without applying. But if you're applying for jobs, who does the first interview? Often HR. And you've got to pass this applicant tracking system. So here's what HR says. If I don't know how to determine if you're capable of doing the job, I can make up a ridiculous 40-page job description that wants 20 years of experience, 13 Olympic gold medals, and all this other nonsense. And then I can reject anybody who I don't think is capable of doing the job automatically with a computer. But guess what? And here's the big issue. The point is good people often don't have the requisite experience, and it's competency. Now, who would you hire, Big Jerry 23? I got 2 people. I got a person on the left. They've got 25 years of security experience, a PhD in information security, a CISP, a CISM. On the right side, I got a little 12-year-old little girl, cute little girl, pigtails, little yellow hair, and a shirt with Barney on it. And that little girl just hacks in to the place that was secured by the person with the PhD, 25 years experience, and all the security certifications. And this stuff happens every day. Who do you hire? I fire the person with the experience, and I hire the 12-year-old little girl. Why? She's more capable. So that's why I don't worry about job descriptions. And that's why, honestly, Big Jerry 23, I don't apply for jobs. I've never applied for a job in my entire life in tech. I built my resume in a way, I built my brand in a way that people just reach out to me. Delroy Batt, one of our students, you can see his video very recently. He recently got a cloud security architect job, 24 years old. He was an EMT, taking patients back and forth to the hospital on the ambulance. And what did we do for him? We trained him as a cloud architect. He never applied for jobs. He didn't even have any cloud certifications. He took one of the 3 jobs that he was offered, and now almost every day, a major cloud provider is reaching out to him. And he's saying, no, I love my current employer. I am so happy, which is good, and I'm proud of him. But the point is, he didn't meet the match of any job description. I recently had a mental health tech hired by JP Chase. She didn't meet any job description. When Yvonne Tam and Coyote were hired by AWS who had no work experience, they didn't meet any of the job descriptions. What were they, though? They were excellent. Daniel Bosa, when he went to the bank, he didn't meet any job description. And I could go on and go on. I had a Bell winner. What an incredible state, and she was what an incredible cloud architect. For the last 8 years, she's been a stay-at-home mom. She didn't match any job description, but Microsoft sure hired her as a cloud solution architect. And that's the key. My students are getting hired by Deloitte, Accenture, Capgemini. It's not matching a job description. It's having the right skills. What are those skills? The skills the hiring managers want. So find those skills. I can tell you right now what they are for a cloud architect and a cloud engineer, and I can do it every day. Why? Because I know what the managers want. I've spoken to too many of them in my life. I know exactly the jobs. I've had the jobs, or I've coached the people on the job. So I don't worry about job descriptions. HR worries about job descriptions, but I avoid HR like the plague. In fact, here's what we do. We get the people interviewing with the hiring manager. The hiring manager starts the process and says yes. Then we, as the hiring manager, tell HR, I'm hiring this person for 1.2 times or 1.3 times or 1.4 times the average salary for this position. It's called the comp ratio. Why are we doing it? Because they've got extra this or extra that. And then HR sends the offer. We hire them. Heck, a year later, they're still on my team and promoted, and the HR is rejecting them. And it happens all the time because they didn't meet something, but they're already promoted. They're part of the company. I've been auto-rejected twice by companies that hired me, for which case I already got promoted. Why? Because I got hired by the hiring managers, not HR. So focus on them. Now, if you see a job description at Cisco, they know what they need. IBM, they know what they need. But the majority of them are all over the place. Chris, you can go to the next one. Good question, Big Jerry 23. Louis E., Cloud Architect. Love that job. Rob Moore. Hi, Mike. How are you doing? I'm doing fantastic today. A little sleepy because my wife and cat woke me up at 6:30 this morning. The cat was doing this kneading thing on me to try and wake me up and take the cat outside. And I got to bed too late. But, we can all be a little tired some days. Collins, Cloud Security Architect. That's perfect for you, 007. Elvis, Cloud Architect. What a great role. I love that, Elvis. Lucky, could you explain the difference between your SAA bootcamp versus the AWS Advanced Networking Bootcamp? Sure. An AWS bootcamp is based upon an AWS certification, which is basically the name of the services and getting familiar with them. The Advanced Networking Bootcamp covers networking concepts. But in ours, we're going to cover more critical concepts. We'll cover switching and real use cases of that, not just the silly stuff that's taught in the advanced networking. We'll cover WAN technologies and when you could and should use them. We'll cover BGP, IP address planning. So the one course is based on generic stuff for the cloud, and the networking course is based on networking. You probably need both together at minimum. And even still, there's so much other training you'll need based upon the role you want. But the Solutions Architect Bootcamp is just general preparedness. And the Advanced Networking is basic networking, which is also part of general preparedness. And what is the cloud? It's nothing more than a network and a data center. Nothing. But for the most part, except for Kubernetes, there's nothing new in cloud computing in the last 20 years. It's all the same. networking in data centers. And that's why it's pretty important to understand where it comes from. Because, in 1996, I worked on my first cloud, Frame Relay. 1998, the second cloud, ATM. 2000, it was the BGP RFC 2547 cloud. 2001, 2002, it was the VPLS cloud. And why does it matter, Lucky, to understand the networking in the cloud? What do we do as architects? We take the stuff from the network in the data center and move it to the cloud. Now, if you don't know what that stuff is, you can't do it. You can't move things that you don't understand. So while we're at it, let's talk a little bit more about, the network in the data center. If you don't understand the network in the data center, which I'll teach in these courses, you'll be like someone else. I recently saw a solution architect say how excited he was that AWS has this brand new feature. And this is a very nice, smart person. How you could create a virtual connection like a virtual wide area network over the cloud with virtual circuits. He was fascinated and wrote it up like it was a brand new thing. And I said, I knew the guy, so I said, very exciting back in 1996 when we started this technology. But it's 27 years old. At this point, it's not new, and just because they packaged it, it is new. And why does that matter, Lucky? So as a cloud architect, we've got to go walk into a business, right? We've got to optimize that company's business. So when we meet with the organization and we ask them about their business and ask them about their tech, we have to build trust. Now, if we said, oh my God, AWS is a new feature, they allow east-west routing, which was a press release about a year ago, and your customer said, yes, but we've been doing east-west routing for over 35 years already, the architect loses all credibility. And they can't be working there. Because if you think the old is new, then the people that have been working with it for decades can't trust you to move their things because they know you don't understand their things. So on one, we're going to cover the basic cloud services. On the other, we're going to get a lot deeper into networking, so you understand more of the fundamentals that are with regards to networking. But they're two different certifications. Not that we're all big fans of certifications, but certifications can help you get an interview, and that's why we like doing them. Plus, we don't want to see anybody waste their money on those other certification courses out there. We saw them. They were so bad. They were just so bad. In fact, here's how bad they actually were. I had no desire to come out of retirement to start this company 18 months ago. No desire whatsoever. I was doing my private coaching thing, and I was loving it. I've been getting people hired forever. And I was building a blockchain data center in a place called McPherson, Kansas, because it had the cheapest electric in the company, cheapest in the country, or one of the cheapest. And, I made friends with the owners of the warehouse where everybody was putting their things. I taught the whole city how to cryptocurrency, how to do all these other things. And one of the warehouses that we dealt with, the person that owned it had a son. He was a fine young man. Good heart, super smart. And he was ready to graduate with computer engineering. That's what it was called, computer engineering. And the father said, can you make my kid, like one of your kids, one of your geniuses, these prodigies that just got hired? And I said, you got it, my friend Nick. And here's what I did. I said, I will work with him 2 to 4 hours every Friday, personal one-on-one. And I bought him the 3 top-selling certification courses. Well, here's the thing. The kid calls me back after 3 days and says, Mike, I've set up an EC2 Instant S3 bucket, but what is it? I said to the kid, what do you mean, what is it? He said, I've done all this configuration, but I don't know what I'm configuring. And I'd come from the world where people used to provide training. And it wasn't like you get a cert and you get a webcam and all of a sudden you're teaching training. You actually didn't know something. That's where I come from. So I said to the kid, I said, look, let me watch this training. And if you're lazy, I'm done training you. And he said, Mike, watch the training. So I watched these 3 people with Australian accents in horror. It was the name of a service, how to configure that service, but nobody even taught the people what it is, what it worked, why to use it. And they were trying to sell certification bundles and push people into taking training they couldn't understand. I was so upset after watching those videos that I said to Nathan, I got to come out of retirement. You and I are going to go fix the cloud computing engineering world. And what we've done, I said, the first thing we're going to do is write a book on passing the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional book. I said, we'll put that on Amazon. I charge $9.99 for it. I said, we're going to strip out 11 pages and we're going to give that away for free to the world. We gave out an easy 25,000 copies of that book in a matter of months. I then decided to create free AWS training boot camps. And our boot camps would never be garbage like those things. They were just garbage. Why were they garbage? They were taught by people that didn't know the tech. They didn't know how anything worked. And they were hiding behind PowerPoint slides. And it was blah, 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 blah. Then when you look at the background, one of them is making a course on security that's never worked in security in his life. One of them made a course on networking that's never worked in networking in their life. One of them out there right now is charging $35,000, not one of those three people, to teach cloud, and he's never worked in cloud in his life. And I saw that and I was horrified. So we decided to do our free certification trainings, make everything free. We do the Certified Solution Architect Associate, the AWS Advanced Networking, the CCNA, the Azure Solutions Architect Expert, and soon, one day soon, we probably do a Google Professional Cloud Architect one, completely free. Because I don't want everybody buy that stuff. Now, what we did in terms of paid training is we said, look, knowledge of tech will not get you a cloud architect job, and here's the reason why. A cloud architect is an executive who is 50 to 80% business and 20% technical. Now, the cloud architect designs, presents, and sells. And we don't touch the technology, we don't configure it. And any training that teaches configuration isn't teaching architecture at all. It's teaching admin work, because architects don't touch the technology. What are the architect skills? Well, they're different. They are business acumen, leadership skills, CXO relevancy, knowing what to say to the CEO versus CFO versus CTO. It's executive presence, meaning BGP is a path vector routing protocol. You're escorted out of the room, but if I said BGP is a path vector routing protocol, there's some executive presence, and other people will take me seriously. It's the ability to respond to RFIs, requests for information, RFPs, requests for proposals, RFQs, requests for quote or pricing. So we do a lot of that. It's presenting in front of audiences and writing thought leadership documentation, for example, to shape an industry. It's working at conference booth and helping to sell. It's training other people internally. It's negotiating big billion-dollar deals. These are the things we do as cloud architects. And that can't be taught in certification. And then certifications traditionally only teach the stuff is, the name, what it is, but they don't teach you what's underlying it, how it works. Now, as an architect, the reality is we've got to take the stuff from the network in the data center and send it to the cloud. And that's why you have to understand the networking in the data center, things which are not covered in certification. So those are the differences, and that's why we came out of retirement to do what we do, to get people hired, and no reason to pay for any certification materials ever. We got you covered all on our channel for free. And all those things that I was talking about, the business acumen leadership programs, they're all related to our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. Certification training is just, I don't want to see you waste your money on any of that nonsense where you're going to know the name of the service, how to configure it, but won't know what it will be. So at least in our certification materials, we'll not only get you certified, which has nothing to do, but we'll also make sure you understand at least some of the technology that's there. But the main things I was talking about are what's in our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. Robix, you have started taking the architect program lessons. Is the reason why you don't provide a written summary of the PDF lessons? Yes, Robix, there's a huge reason. So Robix, if you had attended class on Tuesday, you would have seen architecture in action. And in that class, I asked people to draw something. And one person was able to listen to get it right. Secondly, Robix, when it comes to architecture, nobody hands you a piece of paper, ever. It says build this. What you have to do is you've got to meet with a client. You've got to listen to what they tell you. You've got to take meticulous notes. And if you don't listen, Robix, and take meticulous notes, you're going to miss something. And you won't be able to be an architect. So I train people for the job exactly the way the job actually is. And nobody gives you pieces of paper. I don't create some arbitrary, easy experience that's irrelevant. We're not a certification provider that makes up silly lessons that are totally irrelevant, put stuff on Git, which is irrelevant. What we do is as follows. We provide real live training. A few weeks ago, I had stressed out the students prior to an interview. Why? Because in an interview, you're stressful, and we did practice interviews under stress. We don't ever get handed pieces of paper, so I'm not going to make it easy and hand you a piece of paper and do this. Our training there's a lot of reasons why we do it. I come from that long-term karateka world. And if you ever watch the old movie, The Karate Kid, where they had him do wax on, wax off, paint the fence, these kind of things. And then one day they said, defend yourself. And he was able to do it. So we pattern the behavior of the real architect from the beginning. train just like real life. And if I give you a crutch like writing it out, you know what you're going to learn? How to take it from written out. Now, aerobics, I want you to watch Tuesday's class. I intentionally made it really challenging. I gave the simplest of architectures in the world. And I didn't give people the ability to ask me questions as if they met somebody in an elevator and had 3 minutes to get it, which happens constantly. And guess what? Those who listened had a beautiful design, and those who didn't listen all failed. Because that's the reality of real life. And my students get hired every day because they learn reality, real life. I can't give people paper because that's not the way the world works. You got to get your requirements long before you're ever going to get any paper documentation. So I will always train the way we work. I will not train some silly environment. Here's the thing, Rob, do you know how hard it is when people get under stress? If I told you the average person, when they're having a heart attack or they've seen somebody get murdered or raped or something horrible and they call 911, they can't even do it. They can't dial 911 in the US or 999 in the UK. Because what happens is their sympathetic nervous system overrides them. And we don't rise to the level of the occasion like on an interview. We fall to the level of our training. So I will always give you the real world experience. The reason we're a professional development program or a career development program is we train you reality. I'm training you for reality. That's why our students are getting hired every day. And we would not be so successful if we just handed out and watered it down and turned it into an engineering program. Engineers get papers to build stuff. Architects do not. In our engineering program, sure, they get paper because it's engineering. That's the way their work goes. But for architects, you must train the way you actually work. That's why we train the way we actually work. Robotics, in our architecture program, we have required reading from AWS, Red Hat, and Cisco, and it says required reading on it. So it's required reading. We want you to read it because we don't want to just be the source of information. We want to give you other quality sources of information. So robotics, the same reason that I make people listen instead of giving them handwritten recommendations is the same reason I tell people they must read the directions. So since it says required reading, we would like you to do it. It's required. So to graduate our program, we want you to read it. Because I want you to be great, and I want you to get hired. On aerobics, you have to follow the directions and really do this. And it's not that you have to necessarily read that before you can move on to some of the next content, but we want you to read it because I want you to be great. Aerobics, do you think that I wouldn't go in my career and read from AWS and Cisco and Red Hat? Do you think that after 25 years experience, I still don't go to these authoritative sources? The Internet Engineering Task Force, the IEEE Institute of Electrical Engineers? You think I don't go to these places? I go to the authority. I go to AWS, I go to Cisco. When it comes to security, I go to Palo Alto and Fortinet and Checkpoint and Cisco. When it comes to networking things, I go to Cisco and Juniper. These days, a little Aviatrix, a little Versa Networks as well. Please do the required reading. Please don't skip through the program. Please follow the directions and get caught hired. Robotics, what's your point of view of online MBAs? Are there some good and cheaper online MBAs recommended to the ones that you cannot afford? Robotics, I don't think you can cheat quality. When I went to school, there was a sign hanging on the wall at Temple University. Now this is, let's just say close to 30 years, about 30 years ago, there was a sign and it said, if you think education is expensive, wait until you try ignorance. So I'm a believer in education. What did I do in those days? I actually went to school from 7 to 3. I worked from Monday through Friday. I worked 3:30 to 11 Monday through Friday. I worked 3 nights, 11 to 7, and then went to school 30 minutes late. And I worked a 16-hour shift every Saturday and Sunday. And why? Because my tuition in those days was $8,000 and about another $1,000 for books. And I earned $8.50 an hour as an EMT, paying my way through school. So that, realistically speaking, was about 1,200 hours pre-taxes and 1,500 hours post-tax just to pay for my tuition, let alone living expenses. But I did it. Now, Robix, I put $40,000 on my credit card to do the Cisco Certified Internet Expert 25 years ago, or 20-some years ago. And guess what? That raised my salary by an extra $100,000 a year. Good return on investment. And after that, I did an MBA in some leadership and executive communication skills. And again, that was another $50,000 to $150,000. Well, and the reason I say this is I paid about 50 of it. My employer paid about 100. So the point is that enabled me that doubled my salary too. So it's not about what's your cheapest form of education. It's about what's going to get you to your goals. Now, here's the view. I would focus on becoming a great cloud architect. Become great. Really build that acumen. Follow the directions, please. Read the instructions. Do all the soft skills, all the presentation skills. And when you're hired, go to a quality MBA program and your employer will help pay for it. And that way, it's not about trading quality for quality. I don't love online MBA programs. And the reason we do our programs like this with so much time on Zoom is the following. Part of what's in an MBA is presenting to the crowd. Part of it's working in teams. Part of it's building the stuff and presenting in person with people in the audience that you're going to be staring at and reading their body language to learn how to adapt. Part of the MBA is being in the room with people that are different than you. So you learn how to work with different personalities and backgrounds. So to me, find a quality program, get a quality education. If you get the wrong education, it's worse than having none if they train you on the wrong things. So my recommendation is to become the best you possibly can be. I grew up with nothing. I know exactly what it was like. Worked 2 jobs just to pay for college, and I took on student loans, which were nothing to pay back and I paid them back like in less than a year with good salaries. But here's the thing. I focused on quality. My whole life is focusing on quality. Our career development program is focusing on quality. You have to be competent to get hired. You have to have the right attitude to get hired. You have to have the right attitude to get promoted. You have to have excellence in everything you do. So for me, it's never about cutting. It's about optimizing and being the best. Why do you think I don't have 600 programs? I've got a team, like a big team. I've got 4 MBAs on staff, plus someone with a master's in economics that's an economic professor. We have 2 PhDs that are adjunct faculty. And that doesn't even include the list of other student mentors we have and all the other incredible people we have. But why do we do it? Because I need to know my students get the best. So focus on someone that delivers quality education. Look at some teachers' colleges as well, where they actually have real business people teaching, as opposed to just research. Practical education. So my view is MBAs are fantastic. I did mine in person, and I'm darn thrilled that I did. Even if I had to drive. And here's how bad it was for me to get to my MBA program. It wasn't easy. I was working for Cisco at the time. I lived in a place called Princeton, New Jersey, or right around there. I used to drive to the New York office, which is 2 hours away. And the reason I did this is I have to drive to school afterwards. So I would drive 2 hours to New York City if on a good day. And on the way up there, I'd listen to audiobooks about business things to become better. Then I would drive from New York to Delaware 3 nights a week. Or Delaware County, which is basically 3 miles away from Delaware. It was about 150 miles in that direction. Poof, did that. And then I drove the 60 miles home for class. And doing that gave me some incredible education. I listened to 3 audiobooks a week, just driving back and forth to school in addition to my work. And it wasn't easy. So in Robotics, as you can tell, there were online MBA programs then, but I focus on being the best I can. I try to encourage my student base to be the best they can. And I just want excellence in everything you do. So look for quality. That's my recommendation. There are no shortcuts. Cloud architect. Love that. Robotics. How do you grow with aggressive and rude style sales? I don't know what you mean by aggressive and rude style sales. It's not part of our world as cloud architects. at all. There's a way you do sales. And anybody that's in our world of cloud architecture and cloud sales is going to be a finely polished executive. They're not going to be aggressive people. They're going to be building business cases and having C-level conversations. They're going to be taking their clients for golf, taking their clients for high-end steaks, wine, and scotches. There's no rude, aggressive sales styles in our world. So I think if you're talking about that, you're talking about something totally different. How do you deal with anybody? The greater your empathy, emotional intelligence, soft skills, the better your ability to control the situation is. Some people have people that are problematic all the time. They're like, this person's hard to deal with, and I speak to them. I don't say it. They start off a little bit funny. I diffuse the situation immediately with soft skills, and then there is no rude or aggressive anything. So it's about having confidence in you, having the right communication skills, the right leadership skills, the right levels of emotional intelligence and executive presence, and poof, you can take care of all that you actually need to. Keep that in the back of your mind. It's about your soft skills. Why do you think I'm soft skills obsessed? Why do you think I spent 30 years studying psychology and sociology and economics and body language reading and soft skills and neuro-linguistic programming and communication skills and emotional intelligence, cognitive behavior therapy, so that I can manage others and their emotions? And I don't have to deal with any rude styles almost ever, because I manage it. Come to one of my classes, in the live classes. Look how the people treat to each other. There's nobody rude on my calls. They're all sweet and wonderful to each other. So work on those soft skills. You'll be great, brothers. Jose Mestida, you like to learn by making projects. What do you recommend for you to achieve in SIA? Well, here's the thing. I don't know what your goal is. You're talking about a certification. If your whole goal is certification, take my free boot camp and you'll be done. Now, if you want to learn to be an architect, it's not by making projects. And here's the reason why, Jose. Architects don't touch the technology. You heard me. They don't touch the technology. What do we do as architects? We design a solution, we present the solution, we sell the solution. And I want you to understand why you can't learn architecture by configuring or doing projects. Well, here's the thing. If I asked you to design a building, Jose, and I asked you to design a hotel that was 40 floors tall, that had 3 5-star restaurants in it, that had a golf course, a 1 mile long water slide, and an infinity pool, and it needed to have rooms, and it needed to withstand hurricanes, because it would be in Florida. And then I handed you a screwdriver, a hammer, and a saw, and said, here, learn your tools. 10 years of experience later, if I asked you how to design the hotel, you'd say, Mike, I don't know how to do that. I know how to do construction. So you have to understand that an architect is an executive. And we don't touch the technology. The architect's world, Jose, is to improve a business's performance with technology. Okay, improve the customer's business with technology. And you want to do projects. But the problem is we don't do projects as architects. So let's talk about the things that you need to learn. Well, these are the things you need to learn on the technical skills and the not technical skills. Not how to touch them, not how to build them, but how to design them. How to design them. Now, configuration is how to turn stuff on. Designing requires you understand how things work. The critical tie-ins between the pieces and parts. And how those pieces and parts can be put together. And how does that affect the people, processes, and the technology in the organization to truly get to the goal of everyone? So keep that in the back of your mind. So now that you understand that, let's talk more about what that means. On the business side, as an architect, you must be able to communicate. So a project for an architect might be writing a thought leadership paper on how some technology can improve some aspect of business performance. That's what architects do. The next thing would be, for example, start giving presentations. Learn how to present to executives, learn how to present to management, and learn how to present to technology professionals. Do that. Give some presentations at some conferences, or do something to get your name out there in terms of video. Next, you need to understand how to sell. How to sell. for example. So you need to learn how to sell because you can't be hard without it. So you see, these are software things that you can't quantify. They're not by projects. Now we make our students learn to sell and make my students design something and then learn how to sell it back to me. And I'll tell them whether I'm interested or not after the presentation. And if not, I'll teach them how to make it. So there's the sales. Now, next, what is your level of emotional intelligence and what are you doing for this job? You need to be highly emotionally intelligent. And here's the reason why. You're going to have to connect with executives and you're going to have to build teams of engineers that don't work for you to build your stuff and do your proof of concepts. So that means you're going to have to sell people in it. It's all related to your soft skills, emotional intelligence, empathy, etc. Now, next, you're going to have to convince your company to give you those resources. So you're going to have to sell your internal management. See, and this is why we can't touch the technology. Next thing you're going to be presenting in conferences in this job in front of 5,000 people constantly. You're going to be writing articles for magazines constantly. I thought leadership things as an architect. So there's that. Then you're going to be negotiating deals upwards of $1 billion. You're going to be in a negotiation room. So those are the skills that you must be an expert in. Now, next, you need to know the tech that's going to the cloud. Because we don't touch the tech, we need to know how the tech works, how to tune it and performance optimize it. So what kind of tech are we talking about? Well, you need to know the network and the data center. Why? Well, you can't move what you don't understand, and you can't design what you don't understand either. So what does that take us to? This takes us to BGP as a routing protocol. Ideally, you've got some interior gateway protocol knowledge, such as OSPF or intermediate systems to intermediate systems. It means that you know how to build and plan the IP addresses for an organization, which means how to subnet them out and where to put them, how to route summarize them, route aggregate them, those kind of things. Now, next is talking about what kind of WAN technologies do we need to design in our system. When do we use an SSL VPN versus an IPsec VPN versus a private line versus an Ethernet over MPLS version of a private line versus a software-defined networking WAN versus SASE? We need to know that, which means we need to know how they work so we know how to design them. Poof, after that. What else do we need to know? Well, we've been dealing with a lot of NAT, one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, PAT. So keeping those things in your mind, you need to know those. How they work, not how to configure them, because architects don't touch the technology. Now, next on the list, you're going to be dealing with ARP and proxy ARP and DNS and DHCP, and you must have a full and complete understanding of them. Now, we're going to be dealing with switching, which means we need to understand VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, port channel, ether channel, link aggregation groups. And that's some of the networking things. Now, next, we're going to be dealing with data center technologies, such as servers. So we're going to know servers and server virtualization, containers and container orchestration, storage, area networks and how they work, block storage, object storage, file storage, and how to deal with the poor performance of block storage. Even though in certifications they tell you it's fast, it's super, super slow compared to modern normal data center technologies. It's slower than the stuff we had years ago. So keep that in the back of your mind. And then we need to know what business applications we're going to be dealing with. When do we use unified communications, CRM applications, ERP applications, and how does that provide an optimal place for the business? Then after that, what kind of security you're using, because it's not going to be the stuff in your certification, which means you're going to have to understand next generation firewalls and VPN concentrators and IDS IPS systems. And then architecture is really about how do you put the pieces together to improve business performance, which means you need to know these things. But we don't touch the tech, Jose. That's what engineers do. So if you're talking about the certification, just take our boot camp. But if you're talking about how to become a solution architect, it's not going to be covered in certifications and it's not going to be covered for projects. Now, Jose, sure, I do have my students build the cloud, all of them. Why? Because when everybody else is worried about setting up an EC2 instance or an S3 bucket or something on Azure, blah, and look, all my students do those things too. But while everybody else is worried on that silly nonsense, my students are building clouds and working with Active Directory servers and working with the actual data center stuff that they're going to be moving to the cloud. And that's why we train our students differently. That's why our students get hired every day. But keep that in the back of your mind. Big difference between the SIA certification and any of these jobs. I would like to rename the AWS SAA Certified Solution Architect and Certified Solution Architect Professional Intro to Junior Level Cloud Admin work, because it has nothing to do with architecture or engineering. Chris, let's go to the next one. And I see Robert Welch is here. Robert, it's good to see you. We loved working with you. We're super excited you got hired. Good to see you, Robert. We always love when you pop in. We were proud and honored to work with you, and we're so excited about your wonderful new cloud security architect role. Let's give a cloud hire to everybody in the chat box for Robert Welch. Collins, can you believe that someone is teaching people on social media ask questions like, what would the workload be? Yes, I've actually seen such horrible guidance on social media. I've seen it. I've also seen people advising quiet quitting on social media, which I don't recommend. I've been seeing people asking work-life balance questions on interview, which I strongly don't recommend. Collins, here's the good news. There's about a small percentage of the people that know what to do. And I've spent my life training those elite skills to people that didn't know so they could have these elite level jobs. And the reason I'm online answering questions several times a week is to keep people from listening to that bad advice. Advice from people that have never gotten there in the first place. I've been there. I've done it. I've done it again and again and again and again for others. And that's why, Collins, I'm here. But yes, Collins, I have seen on social media some of the worst things. One of my students that I know really well was liking a comment from someone that I know very well. And this person is one of the most toxic people I've ever met in my entire life. And her guidance is some of the worst that I've ever seen. And I reached out to this student and I said, it's up to you, but I'd advise you to take directions from a different place because I don't think this is going to be helpful to you. So, Collins, it used to be that only educated people, only people that were experienced, that were out there is really good. So it's good for you to listen to other people. And I love that. But you need to know who they are and what their background is. So, Collins, I'd look for people that have the right background. And what is the background of this person that's recommending these things? I always look to the background. I saw somebody in poor grammar who charges 50 times more than we do talk about cloud architecture as only drawing a picture. And when I saw it, it was clear to me, when you look up his background, he never worked on cloud in his entire life. In fact, until a few years ago, he never worked in tech in all his life either, like zero. And a couple of years ago, he was making a video about his dead-end job, and now he's trying to teach cloud. And I see these things. So always consider the source. What are they? Now, Collins, I want you to listen to other people. I strongly do. I'm bringing in Alvin DaCosta to talk to you, a VP over in the video. I brought you Andrea Ikaza in the past, an amazing, amazing leader that I've seen. I had Darryl Proctor come on my show, one of the best leaders that I've known, and I've known him for 2 decades. I'm going to bring in some highly motivated young people like like Ivan Tamba, who's now working for AWS, and he's coming in. And that's why I bring in people that I know that have been successful in the world, because I want to listen to successful people. And I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about people that have been there, done it, helped guided others, people that have got there the right way. So do listen to others. Please do. But just look at the source. And that's why when I required reading that says Cisco, there's a reason for it. Cisco's the most credible in the network. So I use Cisco. If there's something on next generation firewalls, I'm going to have some information from Cisco, Palo Alto, and Checkpoint and Fortinet. Why? Because they're the market leaders. And they've done it for decades, some of them. So I'm going to go there. So I like to look for people that have had big jobs, lots of success, coached or mentored others, and those are the people that I look from. But it's a sea of information out there. It used to be, like, for example, I think when we looked at it yesterday, I've been in over 75 magazines so far this year. And why are the magazines wanting to talk to me? Because I've been there and done it. And there's a big difference between somebody's personal blog and being in Information Week, or Tech Republic, or Tech Radar, or International Business Times, or Investors Business Daily, or Talk Markets like I'm in, or Training Mag, or Today's Modern Educator. And I could go on and go on and go on. So look at the information source where you're receiving the information. Is it a credible source? Is it respectful? For example, someone created a blog on how to install an Apache web server the other day. And I couldn't understand why they did it for 2 reasons. One, if it was I think it's like yum install Apache on Red Hat, and I'm not even a Linux person. And on what do you call it, Ubuntu or Debian systems, it's sudo apt-get sudo apt install Apache. So it was only 2 words. Now, why would I ever go to a Medium blog? I never would. Why? For that, I'd go to the source. I'd go to the Red Hat or the Ubuntu page. Why? Because that's what they do. They invented it, and they're the most authoritative source. So always go look for other sources, please, Collins. Just look for the credible sources. That's where to go. That's the difference. Look for credible sources. Chris, we can go to the next one. Camera. Do you think learning the fundamentals of multi-cloud interoperability is needed to be successful? Absolutely. But it's not about learning AWS, GCP, and Azure. See, here's where people don't get it confused. The cloud is not new. And AWS, Azure, and Google, for the most part, are identical. They buy the same servers for the same people. They buy the same networking stuff for the same people. The storage area networks from the same people. Some of them are designing their own at this point, but it's the same tech no matter where you go. Same physical load balancer, same firewall, same storage area networks. Now, Kamera, if I told you that if you learned the cloud and you knew object storage, which is the way we teach it, it doesn't matter. Here's why. In my data center, it's called object storage. Microsoft calls it blob. AWS calls it S3. Google calls it cloud storage. It's the same stuff. Now, if you understand BGP, you know how to connect all your clouds. Because we've been using BGP, the same BGP, for about 30 years now, to connect to outside our domain. Now, if you understood server and server virtualization, and you built it like our students did with VMware ESXi, then if it's an Azure virtual machine, an Oracle virtual machine, an AWS EC2 instance, and a Google Compute Engine instance, it's identical. Now, really, Camera, why am I not a fan of certifications? Because they're going to tell you to use DynamoDB or Cosmos DB or Cloud Bigtable. And I'm going to tell you why you should never use any of those services, despite being excellent databases. A single cloud's a single point of failure. And as soon as you use a proprietary anything, guess what? You can't do multi-cloud. So instead, we've got Apache Cassandra versus MongoDB we can put in all clouds. Same thing for SQS. It's going to be swapped out with Kafka. Now, when we're dealing with security, guess what? We can't use any of that silly cloud native stuff because we're multi-cloud. We're going to be dealing with the same enterprise-grade stuff, which is a lot stronger than the cloud stuff. And we're going to get it from Palo Alto or Fortinet or Checkpoint. So the fundamentals of multi-cloud auditability are understanding the cloud, not getting certified in the cloud. And there's no kind of time to spend in this because it's all about learning the underlying tech. Now, Camera, if I taught you to drive, which is what we do, we teach people the cloud. And look, our students, we get them all the training for the Azure Solution Architect Expert, but that's honestly basic intro-level stuff. We get them to pass the Certified Solution Architect Professional with our training, but that honestly is so junior level. We have about 500 hours of training beyond that to truly get people to be great. So you have to learn the cloud. And then when you learn the cloud, you can do any cloud. You want to know how simple it is? I made a bet with my friend. The bet was quite simply that if we wrote the Certified Solution Architect Professional book, then we could, within 2 days prep, pass the Google Professional Cloud Architect exam. And my friend kind of laughed at me and he said, that's not possible. And I'm going to say, well, okay. So I bought the Cybex book for the Google Professional Cloud Architect exam because it was the only cloud I hadn't worked on in the past. Read the book on Saturday and Sunday. On Monday, took the exam, and it was the most easy, simple exam in the world. I was done it in 39 minutes, and I don't think I got any wrong. But that's the thing. The point was it's simple. So learn the cloud. Learn to drive the car. Get rid of all those stupid marketing names, because if I touch you, this is a steering wheel, and you could drive the car, you're going to be happy driving down the road. Now, if I called this an elastic vector angular changer, and then I called this a cloud-based angular manipulator, and I called this thing an Azure-based rotational vector device, and instead of just calling it a steering wheel, then you'd think you had 3 things to learn. But you need to learn the cloud, and then from there, Just fill in whatever names of the services you want. Whether it's the Alibaba cloud, the OpenStack cloud, the Nutanix cloud, you're good to go. So learn that cloud, not anybody else. Lakeisha Sanders. Hey, Mike, what does architecture actually entail? You have trouble understanding everything that works when put together. Can I elaborate on this? So, Lakeisha, the reason people are doing certifications and then don't understand architecture is as follows. They don't teach architecture. They teach construction. Solution architecture involves the following. I'm going to meet with a client right now. I'm going to ask them about their business. What are your business goals, pain points, and challenges? Did minimum wage just go up? And your goal is to lay off people and do more with less, which is a common business problem to deal with. Unfortunately, I've been dealing with it forever. And poof, we need to think of automation technologies and technologies that can enable that employer to work with less. For example, or the customer says, look, we have a lot of errors in our manufacturing pipeline, and you want to think about how you can help them improve their manufacturing things. Or they might say, we're going to increase revenue. And you need to think about the technologies that you have that can help that company sell more. So that's why architects start with the business first. Now, once we understand the business goals, Lakeisha, we can start looking at the organization's balance sheet and financial statement. See what other industry analysts are doing. Look at what their competitors are doing, for example. And we can come up with a strategy to improve that business's performance. And then when we come up with that strategy, we have to determine what people we need, maybe to install it or build it, what processes need to be tuned because the technology will affect the way people work, and what technology we're actually going to need. So people, processes, and technology. And then what we're going to do is we're going to build a team of experts. The cloud architect or solution architect is the coordinator. They're like the internal medicine doctor or the quarterback in football. It kind of runs and determines what the things are going to be doing. So then I need to, as an architect, go to my management and say, I need these 10 cloud engineers, these 2 DevOps engineers, a cloud security architect, a cloud identity and access management architect, a cloud network architect, and 3 other, a machine learning person, and a big data person. Then together, we become part of a team. And then we design it together for the team. Now, after this, we all document it together. I write this beautiful document. I draw some pretty pictures, which I send to the graphics team, and then they make much prettier. We do a presentation, and we try and sell it back to the customer. And in the end, we negotiate the business deal. And as soon as that customer says, yes, I want it, we are off on our way to a new customer to sell the next project. So we design, we present, and sell. Now, if you ask what we do on a daily basis, I would tell you that we're in meetings approximately 50% of the time. These are either sales meetings, collaboration meetings, system design meetings, training meetings, those kind of things that are part of our life. No, we're going to be doing a lot of entertaining clients, taking to lunches, dinners, drinks, and the company credit card. Look, one year, I know I spent over $100,000 on just entertaining clients. Company paid for it, but that's how much of what we do as architects. We'll be giving presentations constantly. We'll be doing what I call relationship management. You're going to have a really good engineer that's going to go talk to the customer, and they're going to say the wrong thing. You're going to have to go fix it and smooth it out. Or something's not going to be working in your customer's site, and you and the account manager and the sales team are going to go there and buy lunches, dinners, and drinks until the tech support people actually fix things. Lakeisha, what do we not do? Touch the technology. That's common upon architects. We just don't touch the technology. We design it, we present it, and sell it. And Lakeisha, now that you understand what the job is, now you'll understand why the certification is not a path for the job. Because the certification is the name of a service, which we can never use with the customers, and I'll tell you why, and how to configure that service. And why can't I use a term like an elastic load balancer with my customers or an elastic compute cloud instance? Here's why, Lakeisha. As an architect, we must be a trusted advisor, which means the customer must know we're in it with them and we're fair, unbiased, and neutral, and we're going to solve their problem. Now, the second I use marketing terms, not only does my customer not understand what the product is, I can tell my customer that we need to you move your virtual machines to the cloud as other virtual machines. And they say, gotcha, Mike. That if I say elastic compute cloud, it looks like I'm spewing out words from the marketing department, which makes me untrustworthy. And at the same time, my customer doesn't know what it is anyway. So that's what we do. We design, present, and sell. We don't touch the technology. This job is 50 to 80% business executive, soft skills, leadership skills, emotional intelligence, 20 to 50% tech based upon the role. That's why we spend so much time teaching what we do, and that's why our students are getting hard all the time. Now, how would anybody understand how it works and how it's put together? With certification training, they never will. And that's why we train our students on the network and the data center. Why? The network and the data center is the cloud. And if you understand what the cloud is actually doing and how all the pieces and parts fit together, which we teach, then you understand cloud architecture or solution architecture. But nobody who just did a certification is going to understand this. Because knowing names of service and how to configure them is like saying, look, I want you to design a ship that's a big giant ship, a yacht, $100 million yacht that's going to have people that are going to be sleeping on it, and it's going to have to float, and it's going to have to withstand hurricanes. Now, if I gave you a hammer and a nail gun, you would not know how to design that boat. You'd have to learn boat design and system design. So, Lakeisha, nobody knows architecture until they're taught it, and that's why we have a special architecture training program called the Cloud Architect Career Development Program. And that's why we speak out engineers and architects that get hired constantly. And we'd love to help you. But that's what architects do. And there's also some videos on my YouTube channel. Maybe somebody can find one and share it on what does a cloud architect do. And I go through exactly what we do and how we spend our days. I think I called it, what does a cloud architect do? Juan Garcia, do we offer Azure-based courses? Juan, we teach the cloud, which means all of our students know how to use any cloud. 87% of customers are on more than one cloud. So all of our students know Azure to the solution architect expert level. All of our students know the AWS certified solution architect professional level. All of our students build and design their cloud from scratch, so they understand cloud computing. And then after that, Juan, we add about 500 hours of real training to turn you into an architect. So that's our program. So AWS, Azure, OpenStack, all clouds, by the way, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours to make sure that you understand how to design it, present it, and sell it, because that's the job. But yes, all of our courses include Azure. It's just one of the many clouds, but they're all the same. It's kind of like if you had to buy bricks as a construction worker. You go to Home Depot, Lowe's, Billy Bob's Brick Store, Joey's Brick Store. Lady Godiva, what would you consider to be the biggest misconception about cloud architects? Actually, I would say the biggest misconception of cloud architects is people confuse them with engineers. And so many people train for engineering or systems administration skills, and they don't train the business, leadership skills, executive presence, communication skills. And then when they go on an architect interview, they know everybody else's job other than theirs. So architects don't touch the tech. And that's why when I saw a course and, oh my God, they're charging $2,000 for this silly solution architect course taught by somebody who we have to retrain their graduates every single day. And he said, oh my God, we had a really, really, really great weekend. We learned how to design high availability systems by using 2 regions and CloudFront. And I went, okay, so one content delivery network, single point of failure. One cloud, single point of failure. So not only is that not high availability, you want to know what the even funnier part of it was? They didn't teach how to design anything. They're teaching how to configure it. So that's the biggest issue, learning how to design versus learning how to configure. They're the exact opposites. Do you provide full situational cases, design and present and sell in your architecture program? Robix, it's in your curriculum. If you follow the curriculum lesson one by one by one, when it's the appropriate time for you to get to that section, you'll be doing it. Of course, if you're in classes, we do this 2 times per week. But when you follow the program There are projects that are related to architecture projects, big projects, not the kind of nonsense that would be in a certification course, the kind of projects that we do after you have 10 and 20 years experience. So keep that in the back of your mind. Follow the course. And of course, the answer is yes. Of course, it's yes. It's in our program. Please come to class, and you'll be doing it every class. Alexandros, Kalimera. Louis, good to see you. Chindu, Cloud hired. Thank you, Mike. Happy to be here and help whenever you can. Robert, we are just so honored and privileged and so thankful that we know you. Thrilled you're cloud hired now. Jose, what different approaches do you see between building a telco cloud versus an enterprise cloud? Well, I don't exactly know what you mean by telco cloud. Are you talking about building a frame relay cloud from scratch for the service provider versus an enterprise cloud? The reality is they're not that much different. Now, the difference is, when we were building one of those telco clouds, if you're talking about it from the service provider's perspective, and we were setting up our ATM switches or our frame relay switches, or our VPLS cloud, which is more modern, which you're probably more familiar with, which is, for example, you basically take an IP network and then you use a flat single area IP networking routing protocol such as OSPF or intermediate to intermediate systems. And then you enable, say, some RSCP signaling and some label distribution protocol. And then on top of that, you can create tunnels on top of the IP-based cloud, something like that, for example. That's a telco cloud. Now, the telco cloud is just the plumbing. Now, what's different is about the enterprise cloud. All those networking functionalities are effectively the same. But now, what we're talking about is as follows. We're talking about the data center stuff now on the cloud, which means the servers, the containers, the firewalls. It means the storage area networks, the enterprise applications, load balancers and things which are not part of a telco cloud. And then it's involved in just determining what services and meaning technologies are going to go solve this business problem. So all in all, the architects who are designing the telco clouds, not the engineers, the architects, and the architects that are dealing with enterprise clouds are pretty simple. I'll give you an example, Jose. I had a student named Joe Millen. Great guy. Joe, like me, was a Cisco certified internet expert. He was a network architect, just like me, and he wanted to become a cloud architect. Well, he spent about a month on my program and took a senior solution architect role at AWS. Because the network and stuff that we have to deal with as CCIEs were, realistically speaking, so good and so strong. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Similar, very similar. What do I think the big IT cloud challenge is in the coming years? Well, a lot of people thought they can put stuff in a single cloud, and every cloud provider proved it was not possible to have a high availability system. Now, also, many people went to the cloud and realized that the cloud was really good for some stuff, but it was more expensive for other things. So what we're going to be seeing is much more migration to hybrid clouds and multi-clouds and hybrid multi-clouds. We're going to see much better WAN technology optimizations. I think we're going to see SASE sooner rather than later. And realistically speaking, the next part of it is getting the cloud to perform as well as the data center did 5 to 10 years ago, because the cloud just doesn't perform as well yet, but it's going to be there. So it's going to be optimizing the cloud. For example, cloud networking is about 20 years behind. Cloud disk performance is horrible. 2 years ago, you'd book an airplane flight, you click, and it was instant there. Now the things are on the cloud and they're on databases which have low IOPS, and they're not fast enough because block storage is slow. You click a button, it's like the worldwide wait. Your wheel's spinning for a couple of seconds, and your screen pops in. So I think in the next couple of years, it's all going to be focused on getting the cloud to perform almost as good as the network and the data center. And then everything will be cloud. But it'll never be single cloud. It's always going to be hybrid clouds and hybrid multi-cloud. Great question there, Robert. What are the security clearance requirements for cloud engineers and cloud architects? Well, it depends. Normally, there's no security clearance required. Generally speaking, and passing a criminal background check is just as necessarily be there. And being a legal occupant of the country where you're working is typically necessary to be there. But, security requirements is going to be depending upon your working. If you're going to work for a high security government facility, you're going to need security clearance. You're going to be fingerprinted, background checked, and it's going to take some time to do it. And there's good reasons for you to do that. But you don't need to have security clearance unless you want to take one of those jobs. I worked for one bank, and I was fingerprinted, background checked, FBI background checked, because it was critical for the job. But other companies, they don't even do background checks. I think in California, it's even illegal to do a background check. So obviously, you're not doing any high security work there either, though. So it kind of depends on where and why. So the question you really should be asking is, what job do I want? And what is necessary for me to do to get there? That would be a different question. With that, I might be able to help you. But with this, generally speaking, there's no security clearance requirements. But in certain environments, they are, and it's based upon the job. Chris, let's go to the next question. See, cloud architect is spending time to learn. Cloud security architect is spending learning all the fundamentals of AWS, GCP, and Azure. Do I need to specialize in a specific provider? That's not exactly what we would say at all. Being a cloud security architect is understanding the cloud and being an expert on security. And it has nothing to do with the services in AWS, Azure for security, because you're not going to be using most of them. It means understanding real security. And Robert Welch is an exceptional cloud security architect, and he can provide additional things in the chat box if he feels need to. It's about learning the next generation firewalls from Fortinet, from Palo Alto, from Cisco and Checkpoint. It's understanding intrusion detection and intrusion prevention systems. It's understanding remote access systems. It's understanding how to write a security policy. It's understanding what kind of training you need to provide to the people that work there. Is it anti-social engineering training? Is it anti-phishing training? Those kind of trainings. It's then, what kind of data loss prevention strategy did the organization need to have? What kind of encryption strategy does the organization have? What kind of SIEM or event correlation is going on? What's looking at logs and seeing what's going on in the system that can find a problem and potentially remediate it in real time? It's understanding the traffic flows that go through the organization. It's understanding the authentication devices that are being used, understanding Active Directory and other identity and access management platforms and how they integrate into a federated environment. It's understanding the types of things you can do on your systems, what you can do in the data center and micro-segment versus how do you micro-segment on the cloud. Because the cloud offers less security than the traditional environment. You need to create 1,000 VPCs to micro-segment them, for example. Or what are you following well in between? How are you limiting your routing policy to make sure people don't have information to the subnets you don't want them to reach? What are you doing to keep traffic out of your subnets? What are you doing with your servers? How do you lock down your servers? What kind of host-based firewalls are you using? What kind of anti-malware strategy are you using? What kind of packages are necessary to remove from your system to lock them down to security harden them? What about your data in movement? What about your data in storage? These are cloud security architect things, and they will not be taught by any cloud certification. But these are the things that you need to know to be a cloud security architect. Now, one provider, all providers, they're all the same. And what I mentioned is the same stuff, the same tech that you're going to use in all clouds. Because you can't use the cloud native security for most things, because here's why. I can use any of the cloud providers' WAF. They all have something. Here's my WAF firewall. Blocks unwanted stuff, good. Now, if something gets through, And then I use the cloud provider's information, one of their machine learning things, to say, hey, you've been hacked. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to get hacked, and I'm going to get a notification. You've been hacked. You've been hacked. You've been hacked. What good is that? By comparison, I get rid of those cloud security devices, and I swap those cloud security devices with real enterprise-grade security devices from a security provider. Now I've got a next-generation firewall. So if something breaches the firewall, instead of being notified that I've been hacked, the firewall will do two things. One is tell me that a hacking event is going on, and two, they'll actually adapt to the hack. So as soon as something happens, it's going to catch it, and the attack stops. And I'm going to be using layers of this. So it's not about learning the stuff that's in your certification. It's about learning the stuff that we're actually going to use. But remember, architecture is design, present, and sell. And it's security fundamentals for cloud security architects. The same stuff we do in the data center is the same stuff we do in the cloud. That's the key. So it's not about learning everybody's names of service and how to configure them. It's knowing which stuff works. And the same thing works in all clouds. All clouds. It's all done almost the same way. That's the key. It's learning security versus learning certifications. Great question, C. James T. Do I have an opinion on management training? Yes, get some. PMP, Six Sigma, that's a waste of your time because we're not program managers. We need executive leadership skills. So PMP is somebody else's job. Six Sigma is somebody else's job. Learn the job you want. If a cloud architect, either take art management training or get an MBA. But don't waste your time on all these certification things. Certification things just teach certifications, not management. There's no management certification that's going to help you. Same thing. This is a world of professional careers. Here's what certifications are for. If you want to work in help desk, certifications are going to help you. You want to be an admin and configure all day, certifications are going to help you. You want to be a professional like an architect, certifications are not going to help you. Even a high-end cloud engineer, certifications aren't the key. It's skills, not certifications. So go places that's going to teach you management skills if you're not taking ours. Don't waste your time in a certification, which is going to keep you from focusing on the management, and it's going to teach you somebody else's job. Be good at your job, not somebody else's. Say, how long is the training in the bundle? Between 6 months and a year for the average person. It's typically about 8 months to get somebody hired. About 8 months. I've seen people do it a little faster. I've also seen people do it later, but it's about a year. 6 months. It's about 6 months to a year. Average is 8 months. Because I want people to get hired, and that's why I give people up to a year in the program. That's why we run our program a special way. Because I don't want to sell it and then hope you get a job later. That's not who we are. I want you all getting hired. So we'll let you stay in the program for up to a year or until you're hired. Great question. And we'd love to train you, see. Love to. Do we teach Alibaba? No. We do teach the IBM Cloud, and all of our students build their own OpenStack/Red Hat/IBM Cloud inside of the program. Every one of our students builds one. And that way, when everybody else is saying, hey, I learned to configure, we're able to say, you built the cloud. Big difference. And the IBM Cloud, the Red Hat OpenStack Cloud, is the most common cloud in the world, private cloud in the world. And there's also Nutanix, which is less common, but an excellent cloud as well. And if you know the IBM Cloud, you know the Nutanix Cloud. Great question. First, you can go to the next one. Elvis, what's the benefit of Route 53? Elvis, great question. To me, I don't use Route 53, and here's the reason why. Route 53 is a totally fine managed DNS service. Now, Elvis, I work on high availability, high performance networks. And if I use Route 53 and AWS goes down, guess what? My systems go down. I don't like that. So I use high availability DNS, which always mandates two clouds. So I would use an F5 situation where If I use 3 clouds, I use F5 DNS servers in all 3 clouds. And that way I can lose a cloud, I can lose anything, and everything is still working. So I don't like to engineer single points of failure in. And Route 53, as far as I'm concerned, is a single point of failure. Yes, there's a high level of availability in it, but look, the AWS cloud went down 4 times last year. The Microsoft cloud went down last year. The Google cloud went down last year. I don't want to be dependent upon their stuff. I want my own. I want control. I don't want to use a managed service that's so easy to set up and I lose the performance and the high availability. I want my own. So, Elvis, I don't use Route 53. Now, if I was building a website for my cat Cindy, I would use AWS Route 53. It's an excellent DNS provider, just like anybody else's DNS provider. There's no benefit to me to use AWS's DNS versus Cloudflare's DNS or anybody else's DNS. But I'd recommend not putting all your eggs in one basket, not using the cloud provider's DNS if it's critical. Now, if it's for a supermarket in my village in Greece, yeah, perfect way to do it. When it really comes to DNS, if it matters for me and my company, I'm going to use a high availability DNS, which is going to be on virtual machines and multiple clouds at the same time. I don't architect single points of failure. So there's better choices than Route 53 if it's critical availability. And if you're looking for a simple, elegant, and easy to use DNS service, Route 53 is great, as would be Azure DNS. Not that they're not bad DNSs. It's just I don't put all my eggs in one basket. And if I put all my eggs in AWS stuff and AWS has an outage, they have a network outage, a control plane outage, a hacking event. Or in their world, they like to talk about power failures called single outages. I don't know how that happens. But, that's why I don't put all my eggs in one basket. There's something in high availability and mission critical environments that says 2 is 1 and 1 is none. AWS is 1. 2 is 1. So I'm going to use something that works in 2 environments. Not a bad service. It's a good service, Route 53, but it's a single point of failure, single cloud, single DNS. Everything I do is multi-cloud. I'd rather use 1 availability zone in 2 clouds versus 2 availability zones in 1 cloud. If I need high availability, I'm going to use 2 availability zones in 1 cloud, 2 availability zones in another cloud. Poof, I've got redundancy, no single points of failure. And I'm not going to use DNS as a single point of failure, and I'm going to use 2 content delivery networks too, and make sure I don't have a single point of failure there. Great question there, Elvis. Igor, does the cloud architect also help design microservices architecture? No, that's the job of an application architect. Do we get involved in Kubernetes? Yes. Microservice is somebody else's job. Our job is to design, present, and sell. But we're not designing software. They're designing end-to-end opportunities. Great question, Igor. We can provide guidance on virtual machines and containers and container orchestration, though. That we do. Robert Welch, it's an honor to be your friend. You gave your direction, focus, and push to be great. I was so happy to. I did it. Now you're cloud security hard. Robert, I'm so happy for this. And you're still getting 10 to 20 calls a day. Now, here's the thing with Robert. Robert is exceptional. He was worried about being older. He said, I'm 61. Will anybody care? Well, am I still hireable? I said, of course you are. And he and a gentleman named Sig, who was 63, got hired on the same day. One of the things about our program is we teach our students how to build the right brand. And Robert took our brand building to the extreme. He focused hard on building his brand. He focused hard on his LinkedIn profile. He did everything we did exactly as we told him. And he's still getting 10 to 20 calls a day, every day, from people that want to bring him onto their company. It's not about applying for jobs. It's about having the world, such a brand so good where the people go to you. And then you bypass HR, and then you get hired. Robert, I'm so happy and excited and proud of you. You're just doing fantastic. Robert's so hardworking that he decided to do a backflip at 60 years old. That's the way he approached our program, with passion, energy, and enthusiasm. And I'm excited about the results. I'm not surprised because he did everything the right way. Robert, congratulations. We're so proud and honored to work with you. It was a real privilege for me, and I'm thrilled you're cloud hired. And actually, Robert offers some really great advice for that security person. It said follow key vendors such as Checkpoint, Cisco, Palo Alto, Fortinet, Deloitte, and join their live webcast. You will learn so much from these and make great context to great advice. Could I please explain OpenStack? You were offered some books on the subject, but you weren't sure if it was something related to engineering knowledge, not an architect. Well, it depends which books you were given. If you were given the Red Hat books, they're all going to be related to engineering. What is OpenStack? It's a cloud. What is a cloud, James? A network and a data center. All clouds, servers, firewalls, load balancers, storage, virtual machines, networking gear. So what is OpenStack? OpenStack is a thin layer you install on your servers. It gives you the cloud functions. It adds hypervisors to your servers to create virtualization. It enables you to move virtual machines, parts of your system. It allows virtual machines to scale up and scale down, just like any other cloud provider. It offers software-based load balancing so you can build what you need when you need it. So OpenStack is the same thing as the AWS cloud or the Azure cloud, but it's customer-managed cloud. So sometimes you've got options. You can buy a $50,000 server and put OpenStack on it, or you can buy $150,000 servers and put OpenStack on them. And each one of these servers, to let you know, is about $50,000 in cost. Now, on the cloud, that server costs you $40,000, $50,000 a month. So for organizations that are good at managing their costs, they can buy the gear 30, 40 times cheaper than it would cost on the cloud. And then they have to build their own cloud through adding OpenStack. And then they get the same cloud functions that they will get in the AWS cloud, Azure cloud, Google cloud. Now, here's where the people often find it cheaper to go to the cloud. The public cloud. The management of this technology is complicated, and you need really smart people. And really smart, capable people are expensive. So there's big expenses to this, which makes that even though you're paying more for the equipment, it may or may not be cheaper on the cloud. Now, on the public cloud, I can purchase what I need 99% of the time. 99% of the time. I purchase what I need 99%, and I can auto scale out. And why can I auto scale out? Because the cloud has near unlimited capacity. By comparison, in my private cloud, I've got to buy all the hardware I need ahead of time. Now, I may not be using all that hardware all the time. And with an OpenStack cloud, we can leverage unused hardware for dev test environments and all kinds of cool stuff. But we have to buy for maximum compute capacity. Again, purchasing what you need most of the time versus what you need at peak could make it cheaper in the cloud versus not the cloud. But here's the thing with OpenStack. You get a cloud, all the agility things that you get in the public cloud, and most people like to do what's called cloud bursting. Run at my OpenStack cloud, connect to two public clouds, and if anything that I need above my own cloud, I can just use the public cloud. And that way the organization does this. Now, what's another benefit of OpenStack or Nutanix? Well, there's a latency factor, right, between you and the cloud, and that can really affect the performance. With an OpenStack cloud, it's in your data center, which means you can provide much greater security. You can micro-isolate your systems, which you can't do in the cloud. You can do things like 802.1x control, layer 2 QoS. There's much more security you can do in your private cloud than you can do in the public cloud. You can also create better performance, lower latency. So OpenStack is just another cloud. So organizations used to hyperconverge their data centers by setting up VMware, and VMware would virtualize their servers. OpenStack is just the next iteration of what VMware used to do, more agile. And then IBM also resells that as their cloud, where they can help you build your cloud, which is the same technology. OpenStack is fantastic. And I make every one of my students build an OpenStack cloud. And that way they learn the cloud. Build the cloud. I recommend you build the cloud, OpenStack cloud, Nutanix cloud. I really do. You understand that they're cloud architect, cloud infrastructure architect, cloud security architect. Are these specialized? Yeah, they're specialized. And look, Robix is how do you do your training? What's in your career development plan? That's why I have you do the career development plan in the beginning. For example, Delroy Beck got a cloud security architect job within a year of the time we started training him. So it's a matter of which plan are you building and which plan are you following. So please follow the instructions in the program. I'm begging you, please follow them. When the questions are related to your plan, build your plan and let my team give you feedback on the plan on how to get you there. So yes, but generally speaking, it's going to be easier to get a cloud architect role than any of the specialized roles, but I have students getting both. Just be great at your job. But change your plan. In there, we give you recommendations for what you need to do for cloud security versus cloud infrastructure. Follow those plans. Ask us, turn in your form. Our team will evaluate your performance to your form, so you can get the right training to get hired and follow the right plan. So please follow that planning stage. And you can get any of them from the start. If I understand this correctly, to learn cloud computing mandatory for also learn the query language? I don't understand the question because it's related to the job. As a cloud architect, I don't need to know any query languages like SQL. As a cloud engineer, I need to. So it's all dependent upon the job. There's thousands of jobs in cloud computing. If you tell me which job you want, I can tell you the skills that you needed to learn. But there's no standard skills to learn for all careers. Each job has a specific set of things that you need to learn. Right now, saying is query language mandatory is basically saying which plane should I get on at the airport? And I don't know where you want to go. So first we determine the destination, and then we would determine if you're taking the plane to Chicago, to California, to Cambodia, to Cameroon, Cape Town. And yes, I love the Cookie Monster and words that begin with a C, as you can probably tell. Tell me your career. See, what's the difference with the live and without live? Well, in the live class, you come to live classes. I teach the class, or usually I teach the class. Sometimes we bring in some guest lecturers, but most of the time I teach the class. In the live class, together we design an architecture. And you turn on your camera and I call on you. You participate in the live classes. I make you present, sell stuff to me live, and I give you feedback live. That's live. In the non-live version, you watch recordings of the live classes. So you get to watch the courses that somebody else got to participate in. But in any case, you get the same materials. Collins, we don't only design, present, and sell. We also learn the skills that make you stand out both in your organization and community. Absolutely. Collins is a brilliant student of mine. He's kind of so cool. He reminds me of James Bond. Kind of got this cross between Idris Elba and James Bond going for him. And he reminds me of James Bond so much, I like to call Collins 007. And yes, he's part of our family. And yeah, we're not just designing, presenting, and selling. I'm teaching the leadership skills that everybody needs, because you can't do the design, presentation, and sales without them. And I'm also giving you the skills to get promoted. Thanks, Collins. Honor to work with you. And get a vodka martini shaken but not stirred for me, if you're up to it. And if you ever make it to Florida, we're going to get that vodka martini shaken and not stirred together. James Bond was my favorite movie character. Samuel, what's the difference between a cloud architect and an enterprise architect? Not much. An enterprise architect typically has more polish, more leadership skills, more sales skills, more executive presence. This year, 3 of my students actually became enterprise architects straight out of my program. And most of them got, $250,000 salaries. But, here's the thing. You generally need to be a cloud architect before you become an enterprise architect. The cloud architect is, I'd say, 50% business, 50% tech. And enterprise architect is all business. 80-90% business, maybe 10% tech. So the enterprise architect is a more executive. An enterprise architect is usually a director, VP position. A regular cloud architect is a manager to director level position. They're both great jobs. But typically, you become an enterprise or cloud architect for a couple of years, and then you become an enterprise architect. It's a more senior architect, more focused on the business. Okay, so I'd like to summarize that my time is up for the day. I hope I was able to help you guys with some information to build your best cloud computing careers. Want to recap on 3 things. Join us for the completely free AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate Bootcamp. The link is in the description below. Join us for the completely free AWS Advanced Networking Bootcamp. The link is in the description below. Sign up for the pre-release book, AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate and Professional ebook. The book's coming out real soon. Sign up in the link in the description below. Follow us on LinkedIn. Today we released a paper that was in American Security Today magazine. We have lots of magazines coming out, articles for you, lots of things coming to help you build your best career. Lots of free things, practice interview sessions, for example. We're going to do a practice interview section next week. Please sign up. The link is in the description below. And we look forward to helping you get cloud hired. Get cloud hired, everybody. Because I think we can close it from here.